Well, Liberal Party elders say the timing of the public feud is terrible for Tony Abbott. Former Senator Nick Minchin is urging Peter Costello and Michael Kroger to sort out their differences in private. Our political reporter Latika Burke spoke with him earlier.
Nick Minchin, welcome to ABC News 24.
Thanks, Latika.
Michael Kroger has made some extraordinary claims about Peter Costello. Are they true?
Well, I, like many Liberals, regard myself as a friend of both Peter and Michael's, and I've known them both for a very long time. And like many Liberals, I'm distressed to see two men who I admire and who were in the past great friends fall out like this, and for their dispute to become so public. So it is distressing and very sad in a way. But I must say I really am disappointed that Michael has chosen this morning to go on radio and unload in the way he has. Obviously the timing is terrible. I mean, we had our leader Tony Abbott give a magnificent budget reply last night, and Tony's out there today selling his budget reply and taking the fight to the Labor Party. So the last thing Tony wants is for this to be aired in the public, and it's the last thing the coalition or the opposition wants. So I guess my message would be to both of them that we're all distressed by this, but to the extent they have a feud, please keep it private. Please keep it out of the newspapers, keep it off, radio and TV. Sort this out privately. It's not helping them, the Liberal Party or Tony Abbott. And all our collective job is to make sure that Tony Abbott becomes Prime Minister.
One of Michael Kroger's central claims, Nick Minchin, is that Peter Costello still wants to be Prime Minister and has been asking some young Turks to abandon their seats for him. Is that claim true?
I don't believe for a minute that's true. I accept absolutely Peter's complete, unqualified denial of that accusation. Look, I, like many, and I've said this publicly, am sorry that Peter didn't become our leader before the 2007 election. I think it would have been good if there'd been a handover from John Howard to Peter. That didn't happen. I personally tried my best to persuade Peter to take the leadership after the 2007 election. He would have had the total support of the party to do it. I'm sorry he didn't, but I understand the reasons why he didn't. But he made the decision, which I've made too, to move on. And I'm satisfied that politics is behind him.
So why would Michael Kroger be saying this? Why would he be making these claims? Is he making them up?
I don't know what the motivation is. Look, as I've said before, the inner workings of the Victorian Liberal Party have been a mystery to me for the 30 years I've been involved with the Liberal Party. The Victorian Liberal Party is a very difficult beast to fathom.
But Nick Minchin,
and I don't really know what this is all about. I'm sorry that it's got to this. I don't know what Michael's motivations are. My main message is please keep this private.
Do you think he's made this up? If you believe Peter Costello's unequivocal denial, it's a difficult thing to misinterpret whether Peter Costello is asking around for seats so he can become Prime Minister. Is Michael Kroger making this up?
Look, I don't know. I don't know what Michael's assertions are based on. Maybe it was a loose conversation or it's second or third hand. Who knows?
Why now, do you think? Why have these claims emerged now?
Well, the Victorian Liberal Party has just had a difficult Senate pre-selection, which I know was keenly contested. I'm friends of the three people involved, Mitch Fifield, Scott Ryan and Helen Kroger, and I like them all and they were my Senate colleagues. And I'm very confident we'll win 3 Senate seats in Victoria, so I'm sorry that Senate pre-selection got so heated.
And do you think Helen Kroger's...
I think this is...
Do you think Helen Kroger's demotion is part of this?
Well, I can only assume, without intimate knowledge, that while there has been a feud boiling away there for some time, that this pre-selection and the aftermath has brought this to a head. That is very unfortunate. I hope it is put away in a box and locked up forever. We don't want this out in the public arena. No Liberal wants this out in the public arena, and I would appeal to both Michael and Peter to keep this private and to, if there's any chance of healing their rift, for them to attempt to do so. If not, for them to both go their own ways, but understand our objective is to return coalition government to Australia under Tony Abbott's leadership, and that we all work to that end.
One of the other claims Michael Kroger made is that Peter Costello thinks that Tony Abbott is economically illiterate. Now, do you think that Tony Abbott should have perhaps seized last night in his budget reply as a chance to start putting some more detail on his policies and actually present some detailed policies to counter that perception?
Well, I was in Cabinet with Tony Abbott for many years. He's actually one of the few who, like me, is actually qualified in economics. I have great confidence in Tony's capacity to be Prime Minister and manage this economy. I thought his budget reply last night was appropriate for an opposition which is halfway through a 3-year term. There is still yet another budget scheduled before the next election. We are still 16, 17 months from an election. It would be very silly for the opposition to be parading detailed policy now. The Labor Party never paraded detailed policy that far out from an election. It would be most unusual for an opposition to do so. Obviously, as we get closer, they will need to do that, but to expect that from Tony Abbott last night is ridiculous.
And just finally also, when one of your former colleagues, Mary Jo Fisher, was facing a court trial over charges, the Labor Party initially did not make an issue of that or mention it or attack her or the Liberals for it. Do you think the opposition is in danger of overreach on the Craig Thomson matter in contrast? Well, I do think the two cases are completely and utterly different. It has become clear that Mary Jo was suffering from some depression at the time, and I think everybody took that into consideration. In this case, we have the most extraordinary findings by Fair Work Australia against Craig Thomson. I mean, I think on any reasonable person test, he's not fit to be in the Parliament. At the same time, to go to the length of suspending someone from the Parliament who has not yet been charged with any offence, let alone convicted, would be a very big step and could set a very dangerous precedent. So I think the opposition's done extremely well in taking the fight to the government over this really serious issue, but there is a point at which one should not go beyond, and that is, as I say, you'd have to be very careful about seeking expulsion or suspension in the absence of actual charges or a conviction.